This get that started for you. And we've got, this is Raleigh joining us today. And so, and Why Travel Blog to tell us a bit more about working with influencers. I think the both of you can kind of tell us a little bit about your story, but it's obviously you guys fell into this a little bit with doing travel and now being local influencers here in the Wake County area, North Carolina spot. So thank you for joining us. We'll give you the stage and the platform here to tell us more about working with influencers.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us. I'm just going to share our screen. Can you all see that okay? Is that
a thumbs up or no? Bear with us.
That's a thumbs up.
Oh, good.
Awesome. Alrighty. Okay, everyone, thanks so much for joining us. If you are on the call with us today, thank you. I know everyone has busy schedules, so we appreciate you jumping on to spend the next hour or so with us. And if you couldn't make it but are listening to the recording, welcome as well. And thank you. We know what it's like, and we often listen to recorded webinars and trainings ourselves. So as Jen mentioned, we are local influencers, not originally from here. You can hear from our accent that we are Australian, but we have a long history with Raleigh. We first came here in 2004 on a cultural teaching exchange program, fell in love with Raleigh and were determined to live here permanently, which we were then able to do in 2020 when we finally got green cards. And we'll share a little bit more of our story as we move through. But those green cards came as a result of our, dare I say, influencing. We prefer the term content creator. And we started back in 2010 when influencing wasn't even really a word. So back then we were known as bloggers. And so we started in the travel blogging industry. And as Jen mentioned, we now have a local publication on Raleigh. So we're going to jump through and hopefully we can share with you some of our insights that we've learned over the past 14 years, both in the travel industry and in the Raleigh industry. And, you know, we've worked with some of the biggest brands in the world. So we have learned a lot throughout that time. Hopefully we have. We're still going, so that's a good sign. So just to briefly go over how we know a bit about influencing, I've just mentioned some of it now, but as I said, our original foray into this was our global travel site, whytravelblog.com. We've started that in 2010. We are still doing that blog as well, although we're not traveling as much as what we used to. It simply doesn't fit our lifestyle at the moment with two teenage daughters in high school, well, 8th grade and 12th grade. But we still take short trips and we still write content on travel. So we have guides, stories and tips on destinations all around the world with a heavy focus on Australia, the USA and Europe. We have been recognized by the White House twice. And one of those was including our green card for our extraordinary ability in the art of travel blogging, which is the legit title they stamped on our green card for us. So we were pretty stoked with that title. And we have partnered with the biggest travel brands in the world, not just travel brands, but brands such as Ford, Canon, Nissan, and scores of tourism boards. And then in 2020, we had our pandemic baby. This is Raleigh.com. As we all know, travel shut down, so we had to pivot and look to do something different. And we simply just took what we knew about blogging and applied it to the Raleigh site. And also our passion. As I mentioned, we fell in love with Raleigh when we first moved here and were determined to do whatever it took to live here. And so we just love living here and we love sharing that passion and love for the city. And we love helping people who live here connect to Raleigh and love it also. Because if you're going to be living here, why not love your own backyard? We also help people who are visiting to Raleigh. We give them our itinerary guides and give them a format to know what they can see and do here. And we have a lot of relocators as well, using our site to help them decide whether they want to move to Raleigh and then what they can and how they can do that and settle in quite quickly. So we have become one of the premier sites on life in Raleigh, and we have partnered with many national and local brands and businesses through that site.
Yep. All right. Doing my best not to get distracted. Our cat just woke up from a cat nap and she's going a bit crazy in the background, but that's life. Okay, so what is an influencer? As Caroline mentioned, we don't particularly love the term, but we don't have any control over that. It's kind of the default term that the industry uses. So we just roll with that. Influencers come in all shapes and sizes, but the folks over at the Influencer Marketing Hub define an influencer as someone who has the power to affect purchasing decisions of others. They have authority, knowledge, relationship with their audience, and typically they have a larger than average following in a distinct niche and with whom he or she actively engages with. As I said, they come in all shapes and sizes, micro and macro. Your micro influencers are from like the 1K to 40K followers on a single platform, usually niche specific, and they have a specialist and loyal and engaged following. Whereas your macro influencers, they'd be like from your 40K to 1 million followers on a social network. They could be B-grade celebrities or successful online entrepreneurs. Typically, they're on more than one platform, so they wouldn't be just on Instagram. They could be on TikTok, YouTube, have a podcast, etc. And typically, they are more experienced in working with brands and clients. I guess we can all agree that word of mouth is very powerful advertising. So influencers can help amplify that and almost put it on steroids. And they can do that by creating content that is typically authentic and relatable and more personable. They create content that inspires and informs, or could also educate and entertain. They can provide the powerful third-party validation. So instead of you talking about yourself all the time, that third-party validation is very powerful. Somebody else shouting about you from the rooftops. And they have engaged community, typically of like-minded people who tend to trust the influencer. And you can leverage all of this to help you humanize your own brand and develop more trust. They can provide more exposure. They can help you drive sales to a particular product or service, increase your website traffic, help you build your own online communities and your social channels, and also help you to provide important feedback for data collection. So essentially, when an influencer partners with and endorses your brand, their followers typically are more likely to trust you because they've built up that trust and admiration for the particular influencer.
So we're going to dive in a little bit how to work with influencers. As we mentioned, we have worked with many brands all around the world and locally. We really understand the partnership very well. We have worked in many different ways with brands, and we're also in close contact with many other influencers. So we have many, many friends within the industry. So we know what they're doing. We understand how they're working. We really have great insights into the industry, how it works, best practices, all of that. So we're going to dive into a little bit about that with you. Our motto, how we approach any partnership, is to create a win-win-win. So we're looking to partner with brands, and I know other influencers are doing the same, where we win, the brand or our partner wins, and our followers win as well. So as mentioned, the power of working with an influencer is they do have this very strong, engaged community, usually focused around a particular niche, and there's a lot of trust that has been built there. So it's really important that we consider them in our partnerships. And we do that by thinking about what can we create or who can we partner with that we know is a good fit for our community. It's someone that we know, like, and trust. We don't want to be recommending things that aren't a good fit and that aren't credible and reputable. So for you, when you're approaching an influencer, you want to think about, well, what are you trying to achieve in this partnership? What is it that you want to get out of it? What would be a good result for you? Are you looking just for more brand awareness and expose your brand or your product or service to a new community of people? Are you looking for help in driving conversions if you have a product that you want sales on? Are you looking to grow your social media channels? Do you need perhaps some assets for your business and marketing materials? That is photos, maybe blog content, video, etc. And as you're thinking about this, think about, well, what would the win be for the influencer? Typically, there are three things an influencer is looking for. One is money, because there's just no other way we can keep the lights on. and we all have our needs and wants as well. And then we're always looking for growth because everybody is trying to grow and expand and leverage. There may be some ways that you could help when you work with an influencer, that you could help leverage them to achieve their ultimate goals. And that could be things like partnering right now, sharing this presentation with you through Jan. That could help leverage us to meet other people in the community. So that's kind of what I'm talking about with leverage, different ways that you could maybe help the influencer and connect them to their goals. And then think about their followers. What do you have that their followers would like? Perhaps you could do some kind of giveaway prize or a discount or promotion to give them something of value as well. What to look for, we highly recommend that you vet your influencers that you are looking to work with. We have seen so many partnerships fall apart because it just hasn't been a good fit from the very beginning, and influencers haven't been vetted properly. A lot of the time we see businesses and brands just reach for the numbers. I mean, we get it. High numbers looks attractive, but high numbers doesn't always tell a story. They might not be quality. Those followers may have been bought. Unfortunately, that happens a lot. Likes may have been bought. So there are really these very important things for you to be able to look into, because this can be a valuable partnership. And the way you get it right is by vetting properly in the first place. So take a good look at their content. Is it relevant to your product and your business? Is it of high quality? Is there creativity in there? Influencers are pretty creative and they know their community and what works. So have a look at what they're creating across all their platforms. Do they have expertise and authority? I think this one is really, really important. For example, it makes sense for a business to partner with us in terms of travel. We have been traveling for over 26 years. We've lived in 5 countries, traveled to over 50. It has been our lifelong, it's our lifestyle, really. And so we have an unrivaled amount of expertise and authority. So it makes sense to partner with us in that regard. If it was something like skydiving, then we would be a terrible blogger or content creator to partner with. How professional are they? This is really important. Look at their platforms. How is that professionalism coming across in the content they're creating and how they're engaging with their community? How is their professionalism coming across in the back and forth communication you have with them as well? And moving on from that, their community engagement. Are they chatting? Are they talking, engaging in the conversation with their community, or just ignoring them? Remember, the power of working with an influencer is they have this tight relationship with their community. So you want to see them engaging. We think it's really important for them to be on multiple platforms. We all know as a business, you want to be seen multiple times across many different ways as you can. It can be very restrictive if you work for an influencer, if they're just on Instagram. Then you're just relying on one platform to be working well for you at that exact time they post that image. It's better that you can hit as many different platforms as you can. Are they featured by other media forms? This is another great signal to show their expertise, their professionalism. Usually if they have that authority and high quality, other media forms will be featuring them or recognizing them. How long have they been doing it? As I mentioned in the beginning, we've been doing this for 14 years. We still wouldn't be here now if we didn't know what we were doing. So that's a really good sign. That doesn't mean that you can't work with someone who is new, because they may also offer a lot of value as well. But longevity, if they've been doing it for a long time, they know what they're doing, they're professional, they're in it for the long term. And have they won any awards or recognition? I mentioned that we got a green card for being at the top of our field in travel blogging. Those things are really important. So look for those as well. And remember, it is your responsibility to vet those influencers and check off those spots, because it can spell disaster for your reputation if not.
Yeah. Okay. How to find influencers. I know it can be a little time consuming and overwhelming. There's a lot of noise out there, but here's a few steps that we recommend you walk through. Look at your social channels that you currently have, and who's already talking about you. You could have some raving fans who are actively engaging with your product or service, and they could be some of the best fits. They can be so much more authentic than hiring out an influencer that hasn't had any experience with your product and you don't have a relationship with. Obviously, researching online, Google search, whether you're looking for a blogger or a TikToker or Instagrammer, YouTube or whatever. You can use Google search and particular keywords, hashtags on social media, obviously. If you're a restaurant in Raleigh, like there's particular hashtags like 919 Eats, Raleigh restaurants, or obvious hashtags like that. Or if you want to find someone who's focused on Wake Forest, the Wake Forest hashtag, for example, and same with the geolocation. If you're in Wake Forest and you want someone focused on that town, that area, the geo, like who's posting content there regularly about your area versus somebody who's never even visited the town before. Ask for referrals, other business owners who have partnered with influencers in the past. Was it a good experience? Did they see good results? Were they professional? Are they someone you would like to align with? Or if you've already partnered with an influencer, as Caroline mentioned, we know a lot of creators in the space. If you've already partnered with one influencer, but you want to go in a particular different direction and different style of content, like the first influencer could be really good at video, but you're looking for a photographer or a drone photographer or somebody who has a podcast. We have a good most content creators know other content creators and can refer you to somebody who they like and trust as well. Who are your competitors work with? Obviously, you don't want to poach people from other businesses. But, for example, we haven't just partnered with one restaurant in Raleigh or one attraction. We've worked with many. So, take a look around on the different platforms and see the type of content other creators are working. If you feel that's a good fit and relevant for you, reach out to them. Networking events, obviously, through Shop Local Raleigh Chamber, and conferences. There's a bunch of industry and networking events going on Raleigh. Again, you can get referrals from people in the industry. And social media. If you're looking for somebody on Instagram, obviously be active on that platform yourself and see who's creating good content that be relative to your product or service there.
We'll just go over some relationship building steps, which we think is really valuable, important in creating a valuable partnership. And you've heard me say it before, and I'll keep saying it, know, like, trust. That is really the benchmark, the principle for your partnerships with influencers that work really well. And that's what we're looking for all the time. Know, like, and trust. And our audience trusts us to share with them brands, experiences, services that have that know, like, trust factor. So how do we move through creating that? It is a long game. It's not something you're going to be able to create in a couple of emails, but be persistent with it because it can really pay off into something valuable in the long run, and start doing it today. So firstly, we've mentioned finding that good fit, doing your vetting, create a list of influencers you're discovering that you think might be a good fit, and then do your vetting for them, and just start to monitor their channels to see, if they really are a good fit or not for you. And as I mentioned, that win-win-win. Now that you're getting to know the influencer and their community a little bit more, you might be able to put a better strategy together to figure out what that win-win-win situation would look like. Then, really important, we get reached out a lot every day, and a lot of it's just cold reaching out. And we all know in business that cold calling is very, very difficult. So spend some time helping the influencer first. Let them get to know you, so that when you eventually do reach out with your ideas, it won't be so cold. They will remember you because they would have seen you commenting on their content, following them, maybe sharing their content, all those kinds of ways where social media makes it so easy for us to communicate and engage with people these days. So just start doing that a little bit. It goes a really long way. After you've sort of developed that a little bit, they've gotten to know you, then you can start thinking about reaching out to them. It could be a really good idea at first, well, we know it's a really good idea, is to offer them the opportunity to experience your product or service. And what's important here is no obligation. Because if you reach out to them and say, hey, I've got this amazing product that I think would be great for you and your community, and I want you to try it, but in return, I want you to create 2 reels, a blog post, etc., they're going to shut down pretty much straight away, because what you've offered them is a lot of work. And at that stage, they don't even know if they're going to like your product or service, or if it is something that they want to share. Now, I know it's a risk to you. You might be thinking, well, I don't want to give my product and services away because they might run away and not give me anything in return. And that's where that vetting process is so important, and getting to know them is so important. Now, we feel like on our end, and I know a lot of other influencers are the same, they're not going to accept trying your product or service if they don't feel like it could be a good fit and they don't want to help you in return. And you can have some of that discussion beforehand. A blogger or an influencer is probably going to ask you, well, what would your expectation be in return for this? And that's when you could say, well, perhaps we could talk about that after you've experienced. I have no obligation or expectation from you in the beginning. I just want you to get to know my products and services, see what you think, and then we could possibly talk about ways we could partner. And then the next step is looking at those partnerships. What's mutually beneficial, the win-win-win, and not one-sided. The power of working with influencers is you can really collaborate. It's not like a magazine where you're just spending X amount of money on an advertisement that's static, that you're hoping people will see when they flick through the magazine. You're really engaging with a dynamic content creator that's on all the channels as real life people experiencing something. It's a really great opportunity for you to collaborate with them and be a partner in this relationship, and be seen in a better way through their community. Hopefully that makes sense. So why pay? Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can take a breath.
Yes.
You've been talking a lot there.
Thank you.
Doing fantastic. Yeah, so why pay an influencer? Why won't they just share the love for free? So essentially you're paying for a few things. Access to their trusted audience. When we first got started, we didn't even try and monetize any of our websites or platforms until we had eyeballs. So essentially you're paying for eyeballs like any form of marketing and media. And their audience could be super relevant to your product or service. Well, you hope it is if you've done your vetting properly. You're paying for their time. If any of you guys run your own social channels, or if you've created a video for Instagram or done email marketing or shot product photography, whatever, you know how time sensitive it can be, and the creativity and skills that goes into that. It could be, learning, high-end video shots, staging products, and so on. Food photography is very difficult, and some people are better than it than others. There's a skill set there with lighting and endorsement. Like I said, it goes back to that third-party endorsement, which is very powerful. Instead of you promoting yourself all the time, you got the third party there. More skin in the game for both parties. And when I say that, versus if we're just hosted by an attraction or a business or a restaurant, versus if we have a paid client with deadlines, we're going to prioritize the income opportunity and the paid client as far as how much content we create and when it's published. So, if you got more skin in the game, you're guaranteed to be the priority at the top of their list. And you can also have more control over the content, the type of content produced, the messaging, and the timing, like I said, when that is published. We get clients come out to us all the time, particularly seasonal stuff. They've got an event or a festival coming up. We prioritize that, getting that out quickly if it's a paid client. Okay, so questions to ask yourself. Am I requesting the services of an influencer to help me make money, which falls onto the marketing and advertising buckets? And why should they work for free to help me make money? As Caroline said, we get reached out to all the time, like several times a day, and we like to create that win-win-win relationship, win for the client, win for us, win for our audience. And oftentimes we're asking ourselves, like, what's in it for us. We're a small team like you guys. Times we have small budgets, lack of time, and we have to ask ourselves that question as well. So why would we say yes?
Yes, that's right. So we have to filter through the requests quite quickly. And so these are the ways that we filter through them. And yes, no, maybe. And it's definitely why would we say yes? And it's back to those three things I mentioned: money, growth, and leverage. So what if you have no budget? That's okay. We have worked with many brands and small businesses who haven't had a budget, and we still do today. We understand what it's like, and especially here in Raleigh, well, even in travel, we're sharing small local businesses with every destination we go to. And we are in Raleigh as well, because we want to share really amazing and cool things. So we're not just creating content around stuff that's been paid. We're also doing things as well that aren't. So it's important to have that conversation with the influencer, because they have so many ways that they can partner with you. They understand their own business, their own strategy, how they're increasing their revenue, how they're outgrowing, and what ultimate goals they have that you might be able to help them leverage into. So it's important you're doing that while you're vetting. You're also doing that when you're having a conversation with you. And what you want to do is find a fair value exchange. So if you have no budget, but you want to, offer a product or service, consider what their costs would be to create an Instagram reel or a blog post, what they would normally charge, and see how you could match that. So I remember we had someone reach out once and wanted $20,000 worth of advertising for us for just a one-night stay in like a 2-star hotel. So that was just not a fair value exchange. That would have cost us hours and hours of work to do what they were asking for us. And remembering that whatever we're putting our time into is taking our time away from something else. So if we're putting hours of work into creating content that we're not getting paid for, that's hours that we can't be spending on something that we're getting paid for. So again, thinking about their leverage, how can you help them achieve some of their ultimate goals? And consider different money buckets. When we first started earning money with tourism boards, Tourism Queensland really wanted to work with us. And back then it was like a sin to pay influencers or bloggers, but they really saw the value and they made it work. And the way they did it was they went to their asset money bucket. So the money that they would spend on photography or video, they went and took the money from that bucket. So that's the way they could make it work. So have a think about creative ways you might be able to do that with the different money buckets you have in your business.
Yeah, just want to elaborate on some of those things. Yeah, we understand it's been a tough couple of years in business. It has for everybody, including ourselves, with stuff going on in the world. And yeah, even if you don't have any money, like there can be, if we can get in front of your audience and help, which helps in creating content for you guys and helps us grow our audiences, we can monetize that audience in different ways through ad revenue, through affiliate marketing, and getting more eyeballs to our websites. And also, if there's a fair value exchange in trade of product, like when we moved into our house, we needed some new ceiling fans and lights where we weren't in a position to buy. And we were able to work out a fair value exchange with a lighting company, and we created content for them in return for that. So it worked out great.
Yes, that works really well when the influencer, as you mentioned, a need. So needs, you're going to be more inclined to.
Yeah, you could have a high-end product that the influencer or the content creator really wants, but they're not in a position financially themselves to purchase it. And as they say, a dollar saved can be a dollar earned sometimes. Okay, it's blocking out that word there. How to something partnerships. How to approach partnerships. There we go. I think Caroline mentioned be personal. Like we get a lot of emails, and a lot of them are just like copy and paste email blasts, like the subject line. They're not personal. They're not directed to us. So, take a minute and do a bit of due diligence to at least find out our first name. And if you say that you've looked at our about page or you've been following us online, be genuine with that, because we can easily tell if you haven't. Make it relevant and specific to your outreach. Be clear in your objectives.
Can I just jump in and share an example that I
Yeah.
thought of? When we first started blogging and we had someone reached out to us from a PR company, Ogilvy PR. We ended up working with them for a long time. They really stood out to us in their approach, their cold email, where he said, "Hi, Cousin Craig, really love your blog. I've been following along." And then he mentioned about Craig's former rugby league career. And we were like, "Oh my gosh, how did they know that this was what you had been doing previous in your life?" So that really jumped out to us and that hooked us in straight away. We were like, and we hadn't received a hit or an email like that before. And we we're like, okay, wow, these people are credible. They're professional. They're obviously are very interested in working with us because we know they've done their research on us. And I think that's really important. And if an influencer knows you've done their research on them, and now you're reaching out, I think that goes a long way than just a generic cold call. Yeah.
And everyone's busy. We get it. Everyone's strapped for time. There's not enough hours in the day. So be clear in your objectives and the scope of the campaign and the offering. Like, is it just a one-off partnership, or are you looking to maybe engage with them more long-term, and the type of content? We've mentioned budget several times. If you don't have budget, that's fine. Just be upfront with that and set everyone's expectations from day one. Like we've been on several like lengthy Zoom calls or phone calls, spent a lot of time and resources sending through examples of work and stuff, and it's gone absolutely nowhere, and it's just wasted everybody's time. So be upfront with that from the get-go, and everyone, we appreciate it, and we know everybody else appreciates just honesty upfront and be clear. Share your ideas, but listen to theirs. Obviously it's your business and nobody cares about your business more than you do. But if you're looking to hire an influencer, obviously you have certain skills, whether it's photography or video making or production, what have you, and they've built up that audience through having skills and talent. So listen to their ideas as well and try and find that balance. Make it easy for them to use your product or service. I'm going to use restaurants as an example here now. I think I can speak for most content creators in the world, actually. Get reached out a lot by restaurants who offer us to host us and go and experience and have a meal. They'll send an email or a message through Instagram. Hey, love you to come in and try our food or our drinks or whatever, and share your experience. We would turn up, or we used to turn up, and get to the front desk, and the person there has never heard of us, and it just becomes really awkward and makes us feel like a diva, and I don't like feeling like a diva. So you're better off doing something like reaching out to them saying, hey, I'm going to have a gift card waiting for you at the front desk, or I'm going to send you out a gift card for a particular value, and then we can just turn up at our own free time and experience that restaurant or bar or what have you. And do it. Just makes things so much easier, because oftentimes if the owner of the restaurant reaches out, they're never there. And like I said, the other people, the other staff members have no idea who we are. And it just sounds like we're just there to get free stuff, which we don't like to do that. Ask for a rate sheet and case studies from influencers. We have various package offerings for the type of content we create, whether it's blog post articles, Instagram videos, photography, drone photos, what have you. And case studies. If you're looking to hire an influencer, what other work have they done? Who have they worked for? Can they show you any stats and analytics, whether it be a video on Instagram or a blog post? How many people have viewed it, clicked on links? How long have they spent on their site, etc.? And negotiate. Pretty much everything is negotiable. Deliverables, like how much content and when, the type of content, whether it's video, blog, photography, etc., a podcast. Set the expectations on the time frame. Like I mentioned before, you could have a festival or event coming up. You want that content out ahead of time. And reporting. Now, typically with us, if it's just a one-off campaign and a lot of money hasn't changed hands, we typically wouldn't report too much on that. But if you're hiring somebody for a big project or for an extended period of time, we can provide a lot of reporting analytics through Instagram, through Google Analytics, etc. And contracts, I'm not going to give you any legal advice, but again, how we work, if it's just a one-off small campaign, we typically just negotiate that through email, or we do up a statement of work. Now, if it's a long-term partnership with a lot of money involved, obviously you can hire a lawyer or somebody to help you draft out a proper contract.
Yeah, and I think the more you spent time in building that relationship with the influencer and you've vetted them, it's important that you do have that trust there. And if that trust is not in place, you might want to have some kind of, even it's a basic contract or statement of work, just to protect yourself there. We want to share with you now some creative partnership ideas. These are based upon examples that we've done or other people that we know in the industry are doing very similar things. Some of these also you can do creatively, even if you don't have a budget. So we want to go through some of those. So we've spoken about the benefit of having a multi-platform value. Working with an influencer who has multiple platforms. That is a more cost-effective, it's more reliable, and you can get your message across in various channels using just one influencer. So here's an example of one of ours we recently did with Hildrup, a moving company. They sponsored content on our site that was related to neighborhood guides. We create a lot of neighborhood guides for anyone who is living in that neighborhood, but also for people thinking of relocating to Raleigh, and they want to get a really good look at the different neighborhoods in Raleigh and what it's like to live there. So we went into Wendell for this example. We had a look at the different neighborhoods. We tried some of the restaurants and looked at some of the things that you could do in Wendell. And so we created content that Hildra was the sponsor of. So we did that by way of our blog. So that was our blog content, which was really in depth. Usually we're writing blog content that is 2,000 words plus. Then we created a reel, which we then put out on TikTok and Facebook and YouTube. We tend to put them out on all the channels because that's what they want, but we just do one work and we leverage that into the other channels. And for that piece, we changed it a little bit. That was more of a piece about Wendell and the things that you could do. So looking at, paddleboarding at Robertson Mill Pond Preserve, some of the great restaurants and things there, because that content does very well on social media. And we also did a YouTube video showcasing a little bit more about living there. So we looked more into the neighborhoods. We interviewed our realtor partner who jumped on and shared some of the stats about living in Wendell, moving to Raleigh, etc. So that was geared more towards those people who are searching on YouTube, Wendell or neighborhoods in Raleigh that they're considering moving to. We also put that content out through our email channel. So that's another touch point. And on our site now, we also have directory listings. So people are coming to our site and they're searching for local businesses, etc. And so we have a nice, easy place for them to connect to those small businesses as well. So really look at ways you can leverage your product and business with an influencer across many different platforms. It will be very cost effective for you and help reach more people. Giveaways are really very popular, a great way to work with influencers. It's a good starting point for many influencers, especially if you don't have budget, because this is a massive win for the community. So a lot of influencers, if you have a great product or service, are really, really very open to doing this without payment, because it can help their channel grow, but it can also give great value to community. So you can see we've done a lot of them. North Hills Blue Water Spa jumped out with a $2,000 spa package treatment, and the Butcher's Market. So that's a really great first entry, especially if you don't have a budget.
Yeah, giveaways are good because one of the stipulations to enter the giveaway is you ask your followers to tag somebody else so they can amplify the comments in the reach section and the followers and who enters the competition that way. And yeah, it can be exciting for the audience as well. So get some to jump in. Discounts and commissions. The top left there, we did some content for F45 gyms at the start of the year, which I guess is coming up again soon, to promote their gym membership and their specials for the year, which worked really well. In the center there, that's with our international travel website. We have a relationship with Globus, a big travel company, and we did a river cruise through Europe and created blog articles and videos for them. And then we're able to offer coupon discounts back to our audience. On the right there, I'm sure most of you are familiar with Emily from the Flourish Market. And she participates at the end of each year. We do a 12 days of Christmas where we partner with 12 different local businesses to promote their products and services. And we do giveaways online, but Emily also did anyone who went into the store, she gave away these 3 products here. I forget the value of that, but it was a great way to get people offline and foot traffic into your brick and mortar business. We've also created content for your channels, for other businesses' channels and destinations channels. The top left there is we did a video series. How we ended up in Raleigh was through a company in Chapel Hill. They sponsor foreign teachers to bring them to the US to expose kids to different cultures. Participate Learning is the name of the company. And we created a video series for them to help their teachers travel throughout the US during their vacation time. So we leveraged our travel skills and our video skills to do that, which worked really well. Ocracoke in the Outer Banks, we've created content for their blog and social media accounts, and we created a video and did a Q&A with Lonely Planet about family travel. By memory, that was.
It was.
Well, it's going back. That's pretty old footage. Meet and greets and speaking events. Caroline does a lot of great speaking opportunities. She spoke at a Women in Marketing event in Raleigh. The bottom photo is a big travel blogging conference in the US. Looks like the western part of the country somewhere by memory. And the other photo there, me with my daughter, we were judges at the North Hills food cooking contest a few years ago, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, like I said, Caroline does a lot of speaking events. She did a great 10-minute talk for the North Carolina lottery people. They had an event at the Performing Arts Center a couple of months ago, and they had delegates from all over the country. And she did an amazing 10-minute speech about living in Raleigh. And I was like, wow, I want to live in Raleigh. So if you're thinking about leaving Raleigh, watch that video and you'll want to stay, I can assure you.
That was a lot of fun. I love talking about Raleigh, y'all. So Craig mentioned some content that an influencer can create for you. They can also provide those marketing materials or assets, as we've mentioned before. This is a great way to use their expertise and their story to promote your brand or your product. So we filmed a lot of commercials for different brands. Outback Queensland, they had us on a 2-week trip through the Outback, and they had a camera crew follow us and filmed just our family engaging with the destinations, the small towns, the people, and they just captured it on film. They had us talking to camera about our experiences in Outback Queensland and what we loved about it. And it was very genuine and heartfelt, which really came across because it was us actually traveling as a family. We were not models. We were not told what to say. It was pure and genuine and came from the heart. And so they turned that into I think it was like a 30-second commercial for their online advertisements. We've done the same for Garnier, day in the life of a blogger. We did that in Raleigh. Expedia, the camera crew filmed us for short stays. And Visit Idaho also had us in skiing, our first family skiing experience, and they filmed us for a video promoting winter travel. And I found that was hilarious because the camera crew was following us around and capturing me. All I happened to do was just continue to run into the forest and hit the tree. So talk about genuine. That was really a family's first time experiencing the skiing. We also had Georgia State Parks got us down there, and they had us visit 4 state parks, experience the lodges, do the activities, and the camera crew captured video and photos. And you can see some of those there, the photography there. They used that on their social media channels for like a year. So that was an incredible amount of content they were able to capture using our family. We had the natural chemistry there. They didn't have to get it 4 strangers pretending to be a family who are models and sort of try and train them maybe they've never had travel experience before. All of that we have. So think creatively like that, how you could use an influencer that way. And here are just some other ways we've done that as well. Craig mentioned Avalon Waterways. They were trying to tap into the family market for their river cruises. So we went over there and we captured a lot of footage of our family genuinely experiencing that, which they could use in their marketing materials. You can see a drone footage there of the hurricanes.
Sebastian Aho. That was in the playoffs a few years ago and after the Winter Classic. Yeah, I was hired by Kane Realty to shoot that image for them, and also the folks at Advanced Auto Parts wanted some examples of the footage too, because they were going to create that on different sports and different buildings, I believe, around the country. So yeah, if you need assets, photography, video, ask an influencer. And as Caroline mentioned, like talent, I know how expensive it is to hire talent and models for a particular shoot. It's not always as genuine and authentic.
And so valuable for you because, if you think about if you're hiring like a model, nothing that's wrong with models, they serve a great purpose. But just as a comparison point, if you are hiring them, they're going to turn up, they're going to do the shoot, they're going to leave. Whereas us or influencers, they're going to show up, have the experience, do the shoot, but at the same time, they're more than likely going to be creating and capturing content for their own channels, which they then are going to put out and share, which means you're going to get exposure to your brand. So for all of the ones that I have mentioned, we also created blog content on our channels. We created social media updates, videos, reels that went out on our channels as well. Plus, behind the scenes, our community loves to see what we're doing. We're like, hey, guess what? We're here at Georgia State Parks and we're shooting content for this client. So you can get so much more exposure that way. And it's a huge opportunity to really leverage that partnership and make it super valuable.
Yeah, I realize this is more high end, hiring a film crew and stuff like that, but everyone has different budgets. And the great thing about that for us is I'm usually the one behind the camera, so I'm not always in the shot. So anytime a particular client has the budget to hire another film crew, it's great. I can just capture all us and we can just do our thing without having to worry about taking the footage ourselves. That's Ocean Isle Beach. Okie dokie. Co-sponsors, if you don't have the budget, you might be able to partner up with somebody who does. As an example, we created a bunch of content for the Outer Banks. We went down there, I believe this was springtime. We've been down there many times, but Shady Rays, a sunglass company, actually sponsored this content and for a campaign. And we just went down to the Outer Banks, they partnered with the Outer Banks, and we just wore their product naturally and got some great natural product shots for Shady Ray. So that was a way to incorporate two clients into one bunch of content, which worked really well. Yep. North Hills, we've partnered with Kane Realty in North Hills over the last 2 years. And every quarter we go out there and create different content. We've created like a 48-hour guide to North Hills. We have another staycation guide I've just recently published. We've done date night ideas in North Hills, things to do with kids in North Hills. And all the particular businesses, we reached out depending on the story angle ourselves. And there was no exchange of money through each particular business because it was the content was funded by North Hills. So there was like the umbrella sponsor, I guess, if you want to call it. So that was a great way for us to weave in a lot of different small local businesses who might not normally be able to participate in a campaign like that.
Yeah, and that's a really good idea to think about, who maybe in your business niche can you be building relationships with. Maybe you could pool your money together to create some kind of overall guide like this. This is something we do a lot in our travel world, where we might have smaller tourism destinations that don't have a budget. They might reach out to us and we will say, okay, we'll see how we can make this work for you. And it might be like a month or two later, maybe even longer, where finally we might have a top line sponsor. For example, we are ambassadors with Allianz Travel Insurance, and we create different content for them quarterly. So a project might come up where then it would make sense because they're the top line sponsor. Then we can go into that smaller destination that doesn't have the budget and say, oh, hey, we can come in now. We have Allianz as a top line sponsor. Are you able to help us with accommodation, attractions, that kind of thing? And so that's what we're doing with the North Hills as well. We can then go to the businesses in North Hills and say, hey, we have Kane Realty as a top line sponsor. We'd love for you to be a part of this content. So building those relationships again are so key, because you never know when these opportunities might arise that you can just fit naturally into a content creator's content strategy and make it work that way.
Yeah, another great example of that. We were doing some content with Live It Up Hillsborough Street throughout the year. We just promoted their Halloween trick or treat event. We went to a Wolfpack game recently, and then experienced some businesses before and after the game, used some of their products to take tailgating, and then post drinks and dinner after the game at Carter Finley. And we're doing a comedy show, a Comedy Works, and date night at a restaurant. So all these local businesses along Hillsborough Street, we've been able to weave into our content and through our long-term partnership with the great folks that Live It Up Hillsborough Street. So it works really well.
Yeah, and we're looking to really support local businesses as much as we can, even in the travel space. But, you know, we are restricted by time and resources. So it's not something we can always do. But when we find a way where we can make it work, we'll make it work. And that's why those relationships, and we'll mention some soon, we'll jump into some mistakes you'll make. And in that are some mistakes you can make that can kill your opportunity to develop that relationship with an influencer and possibly be seen later on. We just want to dive into a little bit now the value of long-term partnerships. This is what we're always looking for. This is the best win-win-win for everyone. It really is. If you're going to align with someone long-term, that's letting the community know that you really do like and trust them. Plus, it means your brand, product, service is going to be consistently seen to the community. And we all know how important that is. Plus, it's just better on everybody's resources to do this. It's just more cost-effective and time-effective. You know, you can do so many creative things. You can work with an influencer throughout the year, and they can come in once a quarter and promote your seasonal content. They can promote any specials, etc. Going, as Craig mentioned, Live It Up Hillsborough. So we promote their seasonal content. We promoted their summer $5 food walk, their Halloween, their football. So we're really diving into how to enjoy Hillsborough Street no matter what time of year it is. Us, especially because we have a blog, it's very easy for us to take the content that we're creating and link it to future content or past content, which is just giving more exposure to that piece of content that we've written for your blog or brand, that can fit naturally into other content on the site. So when people are reading on our site, we're very good, like we're kind of like Amazon, we're good at directing them around the site so they don't leave. And so they might be finished with one piece of content, we're moving on to the next one, which may be that piece of content we wrote for a brand or a business. And of course, leveraging across all platforms and cross-promoting. We're content creators. We're on multiple platforms. We need a lot of content. And so we are constantly recycling, repurposing our content and putting it across all the platforms. Our long-term partnerships are always front of mind. So Craig mentioned Globus. We have done a lot of different travel. They're a tour company. We've done several of their tour companies. Our audience have seen us on their tours over and over again. I mentioned Allianz Travel. We have been ambassadors of theirs for about 6 years. Very valuable partnership. So we're always creating natural content about travel where they fit in as the sponsor and sharing it through our community. Ford and Nissan, we had a long-term partnership with them where they gave us a vehicle and we traveled around Australia with that vehicle, and we just created content on road tripping around Australia and family road trips. I wrote on another site about family road trips. So just giving that long-term exposure to something which was an amazing product. Craig mentioned Kane Realty, and Stay 22 is another travel accommodation site that we're long-term partners with. You can look at different things you could do with your partners. They can help you host events. We regularly jump on, they haven't done it for a while, but Twitter chats with Allianz Travel Insurance. So it's a virtual meetup. You jump on for an hour, you talk to the community, asking travel questions and have a conversation. So that's just sort of little things that a long-term partner can give as extra exposure to you. They could do presentations. They can be an expert voice for you in traditional media. So our long-term partners are always front of mind. So if we have the opportunity and I'm giving a presentation now or anywhere, or we're on my Carolina on TV, in other articles, interviews, etc. If we can naturally and genuinely share our long-term partners, we will. So those influencers, if you're working with them as a long-term partner, they can really be a trusted expert for your brand.
Yeah, I'll just mention that long-term partnerships too can be more cost-effective and easier budget-wise. Like we prefer long-term partnerships, even if it's less money up front. And we might say no to a one-off partnership. But if we can go to that business or build a relationship quarterly, even though you're receiving less money each quarter, we much prefer that. Like it's ongoing work for us, and it's hard to chase one-off. Like for everybody, it's hard to chase one-off jobs all the time, so to speak. And so, yeah, and it's more touch points for the audience. Like I think we can all agree that everyone needs to see something more than once before they usually take action. So the more touch points and the more platforms people consume media on, whether it's written or video or audio through podcasts. So those long-term partnerships and the various platforms are very handy. The good, the bad, the ultimate. You did mention Amazon. I wouldn't mind having $100 billion in the bank account, but anyway, I'm working on that. Working on my first million.
Yes. All right, let's sum it up now. We're going to sum it up by going through the bad, the good, and the ultimate.
Yeah, some mistakes that we've seen made, and we're not immune to mistakes ourselves, of course, and we're always constantly learning. Not sharing the third-party validation of your company. Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, like getting an influencer or a content creator to create content about your product, your business, or your service is very powerful. It's not you shouting it from the rooftops, and that the audience of that influencer can trust them a lot. And not researching the influencer. If there's one thing take out of today, relevancy. Find somebody who is super relevant. Big is not always best. Don't just try and hire someone with the most numbers. How relevant are they to your product or service? And how relevant is their audience to their product, your product or service? How professional are they? Are they engaged with their audience? Do they say that what they're going to do? Really vet their time. If it's just a one-off small campaign, you could probably communicate via email. But if you're going to hire somebody to represent your business for a long-term partnership, or there's a serious amount of money exchanging hands, I would meet them in person, go out for coffee, or at least do a Zoom interview, really get to know them. Like I said, if you're hiring somebody to represent your brand, you want to get them to know them as much as possible. So do your due diligence. Don't expect the influencer to be responsible for conversions. I don't think you can guarantee sales in any marketing, but we can definitely help with exposure and bringing more eyeballs to your product or service, or foot traffic in the door. Not understanding impacts of algorithms, whether it's the Google algorithm, Instagram algorithm. If you're researching a particular Instagrammer, they might not get a lot of reach or comments on their latest post or update. That doesn't mean they're not high quality content creators over a long period of time, like every day. Like we know it ourselves. You think you can creating a great piece of content and it just flops, and then other times of the day it's something that just take off. But over time, somebody who is consistently creating great content and professional, look for that. And taking their words, imagery, and reusing it for your own marketing materials. No, you can't do that. And especially like at least credit or reach out and ask to credit them for their content, and you have to pay for their assets as well. Otherwise, it's just copyright infringement and stuff like that you don't want to get into. And most content creators will have some licensee rights and packages they can, whether it's photography or video, A-roll or B-roll video, etc.
Yep. Some other mistakes: not understanding the investment of resources the influencer has made to build their influence and community. So as I mentioned, we've been doing this for 14 years. It has taken many, many hours to build that community and to build that trust. So really understand that an influencer is not a free marketing channel. They've put so much time and effort to build the community that you want access to. And go alongside of that is not appreciating the creative value and time and skills of the influencer. Um, I'm sure, as Craig mentioned, you know what it's like creating your own social media content. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of creativity and skills as well. Like, we've done so many courses on marketing and content creating and taking videos and photographs. All of that really is important to understand. I know it kind of seems in the world of influencing that anyone can do it, that you could just pick up your phone and shoot a video of whatever you're doing. And I understand that that is a reality as well. But I know that one thing someone will always say to us, whether it's family or friends or clients or community members, when they're out with us in public and they see what we're doing to actually create that content, they always say, oh, wow, I didn't realize it was this involved. It really, really is. So just be mindful of that. And again, mentioning not understanding the fair value exchange. When people will say, I'm going to give you a beer, but I want you to create me a reel and a blog post and share it through your community. It's absolute no way. I do not have the time and the resources to do that. So be very, very mindful of that fair value exchange. Really important. Don't compare to what other influencers do or charge. It's just so unique for every person, and it's so dependent on what their niche is, what their expertise and authority is. For example, you wouldn't compare us. We've been doing this for 14 years, work with brands all over the world. Like, we have so much experience to compare us to, say, someone who's been doing it for a year and say, well, this person charged that much. Well, when you're working with an influencer, you're getting a lot more than just what they're creating in that moment and sharing. It's their whole story, their whole brand, and their whole platform. Really not a good idea to ask your influencer to not disclaim. And if you see them not disclaiming, you should remind them how important it is. We, in a lot of our contracts that we have with big brands, this is stipulated over and over again that there must be a disclaimer in there. It's what you need to be doing. It's just what is best for the community. There's nothing wrong with it. Everyone's understanding now that influencers make money. They form hopefully good partnerships with brands they know, like, and trust. So very important that the disclaiming happens. And one thing that's really, really important, I spoke before how you could kill future opportunities with an influencer. And one of those ones, and we know this is something that really irritates us a lot. And we know because we are friends with so many influencers across the world, and they all complain about the same thing. And that is when you have put a lot of your time and effort into interacting with a brand or a business, and you're talking about future partnerships, and you have these conversations in place, and you have your next steps, and then they completely disappear, and you're trying to follow up and they disappear, and it's just not a good way to engage them. It's okay if you have a conversation, you decide it's not something you can do and you can't move forward anymore. It's okay to say no. We've heard no so many times. We're totally fine with it. No helps us to move on. It helps us to know where to put our time and energy and resources. And as I said, we're looking always for future opportunities, how we can help local businesses. So if this wasn't a good fit with them, they're always in our mind, and they're maintaining those relationships with us. And so that relationship is being built. And so we're going to be thinking of them when future opportunities arrive. But if you just ghost us like that, we're just going to think, well, no, that's not someone I can know, like, and trust, because you haven't treated us in that respectful way. I understand that everybody is busy. And what I'm talking about, the ghosting, is when you followed up with them 3, 4, or 5 times. Another example, sort of going along with that a little bit, is if an influencer, especially if they've put in a lot of work to help promote your brand and they're not taking payment for it, they're looking at that fair value exchange, is to just take some time to thank them for the time they put into creating the content, for putting it out there. Follow up with them. Is there anything I can do to help you with this content? Maybe you could share it on your own channels. We've had that happen to us many times, and we haven't even had a thank you in return. There's no, like, oh, the content was great. I loved it. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it. It's just complete silence. And so just think we're just human too. And when that happens, it's going to be, well, I don't think I'm going to work with you again because there's no like and trust there. So just those things are super important.
Yeah, just reiterating, as we mentioned, long-term partnerships hold great value. So try and seek them out as much as you can, and along with somebody's story, which can be very powerful. And are they professional? What authority they have? Look at the quality of their content, not just the numbers. I think I shared this example before that a luxury hotel, I think it was in Mexico, hired Kim Kardashian, and obviously she has hundreds of millions of followers in social, but apparently she created 0 conversions, as in bums on beds in the hotel, because I guess most of Kardashian's followers are interested in the drama going on in real life, not the hotel she's staying in. And yeah, I mentioned before relevancy. How relevant is the particular content creator or the influencer? I was talking to a particular brand. I think I shared this example as well. An all men's clothing store. I was looking at partnering with them, and they ended up looking at going with a female influencer, which made 0 sense to me. I don't think I'm going to get hired anytime soon to promote an all-female boutique, but well, I hope not anyway.
Mankini, maybe.
No. So yeah, have relevant. Oh yeah, that's okay. Relevancy, relevant partnerships, and continue on. Leverage across multiple platforms. As I mentioned, people consume media in different ways, whether it's video, it's written, it's audio through podcasts, and different, length of content. We spoke about creating YouTube videos for Wendell and the moving company. Like if somebody's looking at buying a house or moving into a new city, they're going to watch a 10, 20, 30-minute YouTube video. No problem. I know I definitely would. That's a big decision. But if you're, say, an ice cream shop and you've got a new flavor of the week, that could be a 15-second video. So keep that in mind, and the type of platforms and the type of content for each platform. Allow creative control. We mentioned that before. They have the skills, they build up the audience, trying to find the balance. I know you want to represent your brand and you care about it more than anybody, but try and trust them with their skills and direction. Paid compensation is of most value. We understand budgets. We know it's tight, but we're content creators are small business owners as well, and they're going to prioritize those income producing activities as far as the content and publishing dates. And yeah, support local content creators. We love to support the local businesses in Raleigh as much as we can. We really do. And you hear that all the time, like support local. But also remember that the content creators and the influencers, the YouTubers, the bloggers, whoever, they are also a small business. So support the local content creators who are supporting the local businesses.
And lastly is the ultimate, and this is the gift that keeps on giving. That was a term that just previous partners in Australia just randomly started saying to us without speaking to each other. And then when we got to America, people were saying that as well. And we were like, okay, this is something we need to pay attention to, that our clients kept saying, you're the gift that keeps on giving. And that is because the know, like, and trust, the win-win-win, the long-term partnerships. When we're partnering with someone, we're doing it because we do know, like, and trust them, and we genuinely share them, and we love and appreciate their support. So we give over and above what we promise. And as I mentioned, long-term partners, people who support us, they're always front of mind. So whenever we can feature them and give them that extra promotion and that extra exposure, that's what we're doing. So I mentioned before, if we're on traditional media, we're on Fox Business News, and I made sure that when I'm on there, the footage that they're sharing behind me on the TV is filled with images from Queensland and Western Australia, because they were our long-term partners. And listen, we love Queensland and Western Australia too. So they were a genuinely great fit, amazing states to share. So just those things that we're always thinking about and doing, and just really pouring our love and trust and loyalty into these partnerships. And that's where that true value of working with an influencer, if you can find that right fit, it can be an incredible opportunity for you to get your word, your brand, your messaging out there. And again, across those multiple platforms, looking at content creators who are in it for the long term, who generally are there to continue to provide content to help their community. They're always going to be repurposing their content, which gives more opportunity for you to be seen in their channels over the long term. So that's it. We hope that we've given you a few little insights that we've learned over a very long time of doing this now. Here's just some of our channels where you can find us. You know, we're on Instagram. That's one of our biggest channels where we're just showcasing life in Raleigh and some of the little trips and things we're taking. We're on YouTube, Facebook. This is Raleigh NC. And TikTok, and of course the blog is thisisraleigh.com. And we can have some Q&A if we have time now, Jen. If you're interested in travel, our travel site is whytravelblog.com or whytravelblog on social. And if you want to hear a little bit more about our chatter over influencer marketing, we did.
If you haven't heard us ramble on long enough, we have a 90-minute podcast called Influencer Marketing, sharing all our 14 years tips and lessons. And we go into more depth and elaborate more on a lot of the points we've covered here today. And you can find that at thisisraleigh.com and on the podcast tab.
And it's episode 58. And you can also find it if you listen on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to your podcast. You could find that by searching on there for episode 58. Thank you. Thanks, Jen, for having us.
Thank you guys so much. This was super informative. And I do want to offer, if anyone has any questions that they'd like to ask or kind of throw out there, feel free to go ahead and do that now.
Can people get access to the slides and stuff? Is that
yes, we can share these slides with you, Jen, so people can access them.
We can do that. We'll put that online.
Yep,
we'll
that's
put that
no
in our
problem.
email as well.
Yep, no problem at all.
What would you say is one experience that you would hope someone would reach out for you to cover that you haven't been asked to do yet?
Oh, locally?
Anywhere.
Great question. Anywhere. Wow. We love concerts and big concerts and sporting events and stuff like that. One really cool experience, we went to the Taylor Swift concert, but in Philadelphia. So that was a great three-day weekend getaway. I love sporting events. So if anyone wants to take me to the Super Bowl, I'm there with bells on. And
if Taylor Swift is listening, she could invite us to Miami. That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, gee whiz, anything like.
Yeah, one thing we have spoke about, we do have plans to do like some renovations on our home, and we've often spoken about, because we love those, the TV show, the home renovations, Chip and Joe and stuff. Not that I think we could be like Chip, like Joe, but just creative stuff like that we've always spoken about as well, which would be really fun to do. Yeah,
it's just genuinely authentic stuff that if it's fun and we're passionate about it, it makes it so much easier for everybody. And
or like a travel show type thing, but on Raleigh, that would be really great too. That you could just shoot a different episode, incorporate local businesses and people. Like, I don't know if you know Samantha Brown. We do know her personally, but her show, it's Emmy Award winning Places to Love. It's her actual show when she moved away from the Travel Channel. Something like that I think would be so great to do in the Raleigh area, because she really goes to a new destination and she dives into the people that make that destination great, and she goes into their local businesses and experiences it and interviews the owners and hears more of their story. So that kind of stuff I think would be really great.
Yeah, we do want to do more of that. We love sharing the local Raleigh business owners and entrepreneurs and the creatives. Like, everyone's got fascinating stories, and we love to do that via our podcast or Q&A blog articles, stuff like that. We're also going to start doing that on shorter video, like 60-second grabs and stuff like that too, for social. But we love to share the stories with the local people, and that's one of the great reasons we love living in Raleigh, and how collaborative it is and how supportive everybody is.
Other questions?
Make it easy. I mean, anyone can feel free to reach out to us at was our email on one of those slides?
Yep.
We're happy to reply by email or, have a
We'll share this with everyone. We'll get it on YouTube so you can watch it again if you want, take notes. And again, I think you guys did such an incredible job of being so informative that it probably most likely answered everyone's questions on how to get started with influencers or how to connect do's and don'ts and things like that. And I think we just can echo from everyone. Thank you for your time in doing this and for sharing your experience. And hopefully we can get other people connected to you and vice versa. The power of networking for everyone to help each other here.
Yeah, for
Just one last final point. When trying to reach out to an influencer, I know this is a struggle for us. If you message them via Instagram, those messages get lost so easily. Because I think I can speak for most influencers and content creators. They just get slammed in their inbox, and with 3 different inboxes in Instagram, and it's very hard to search up history of the messages and stuff. So try and find out their email as best as possible. Email, it's so much easier to stay on top of, to communicate that way. So that's very helpful.
Yeah, because a lot of the messages will go to our hidden or our spam folder and you don't often find it. But yes, Craig, and especially if an influencer is getting like 30 more messages a day, if you sent them a message in the morning and, likely they're probably not instantly responding. I mean, I don't think anyone should be instantly responding to anyone. They're not going to be able to find it later because you have to be able to remember the handle of the person who sent you the message in order to search for that again in your inbox. You can't use keywords or anything. There's no way that you can pull that up. And I think maybe using desktop, you can search for keywords, but the likelihood of you even remembering what they reached out to you about and finding that keyword to search is very unlikely. And it could be a really good opportunity. That might be a great fit. And then that communication is lost. They're not going to find you again.
Yeah, whereas email, we can segment it into, save it into different folders and lists, and so easy to
search.
so easy to keep on top of that one particular thread. But yeah.
And I do think that's also another signal, I think, that you are serious, because I think it's just so easy to send a random DM to someone on Instagram. But I think if you've taken the time to find their email, to craft an email into their inbox, I just think it just subconsciously, I just tend to think that they've gone that extra mile. And so I feel like they're a lot more serious. And so I'm more likely to pay attention and respond.
Yeah, I do understand the challenge though. If you're trying to work with somebody who is just on Instagram or just on TikTok, that's the only touch point you have. So I don't really know a great work around that. But if somebody, like us, has a website and we do email marketing and stuff, we're kind of easier. You have more ways to get in contact with us. So I guess, if you can't get onto them via DM, like comment on some of that, just keep commenting on some of their updates and whatever. And hopefully, eventually, it's not like they're ignoring you. They're just getting bombarded every day with messages. And hopefully, eventually, they'll see it and respond in due time. Okie dokie.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much. We appreciate everything. And we'll get this shared out. And again, if anyone has any questions, don't hesitate. You can reach us or you can reach them directly via their email. And thank you all for your time today.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining us and those listening to the recording. Thank you.
Talk soon.